understand how amazing it is that we have the team that we have here. I've done student ministry for about 10 years, and I have had a worship, an actual official worship band, for maybe 6 months of those 10 years. So, this is so cool, okay? You guys have no idea how awesome you have it and how cool and blessed we are. So Brantley, worship team, guys, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Matthew. I'm the youth pastor here, and I have the privilege and the honor of sitting here with my good friend Randy, who we'll talk to in a hot second here. I'm going in and out. Am I good? Okay, good. So we are in our series called B.A.S.E Values. Can anybody tell me what the B means? Okay, what's the A? What's the S? And what's the E? Evidence. That's right. We believe that you should belong to a group of people who are pursuing Jesus because He created you and you belong to Him, so you belong to His church. We believe that you can be the authentic expression of the image of God that He designed you to be. We believe that service is the core value of displaying that love, of treating others' value and needs as higher than your own. And lastly, we believe you should not just hold to something without reason, but you should reasonably hold to something. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about the fact that you have doubts, I have doubts, you have questions, I have questions. And there is no question, there is no doubt in which Christ's light, His hope, cannot shine. There is no doubt, there is no question in which Christ's light cannot shine and give you the hope and the peace that He brings. But that is our base values. One of the people that I have had the privilege of knowing is my friend Randy. He is an incredible person. Everybody, welcome Randy.
Glad to be here. Thank
you. We have to acknowledge his shirt. It has all of the DC and Marvel superheroes and Jesus sitting in the middle, and then it says, "And that's how I saved the world." It is incredible. Like, this shirt is the coolest shirt ever.
And the Flash is speed reading the Bible.
I mean, the Flash is speed reading the Bible. That's incredible. Or is that Daredevil? No, that's the Flash. It's definitely the Flash. Anyway, so you're a mega nerd, yeah?
Yes.
But first, before we dive in, I do want you guys to know what we have on the screen for you. We have a QR code for you. Randy is an extremely smart guy. Let's get out of the way for them. Randy is an extremely smart guy. What we would like for you to do is to scan this QR code. If you don't have phones, then you can sit and listen. That's a great thing to do. If you have your phone, you can pull it out and you can scan the QR code. And while we're talking, I have the questions on my laptop. While we're talking, I can see them in real time. The highest voted questions will be some of the questions we'll try to reach in the time that we have. Right now, we have about 20 minutes. And so I want to be able to hear Randy's story. We want you guys to be able to see and hear the importance of knowing what you believe, why you believe it, and why it matters. And Randy's story is key. Everybody good? Cool? Okay. All right. So let's start with the first question. Are you ready?
I am. I'm excited.
I don't know if you're... Who is Randy?
I was joking earlier. I'm hoping to find that out tonight. Yeah. No, that is me. So I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So my name is Randy. My wife Ann and I have been married 18 years. We live in Saline, and we have 5 boys. My oldest is in the room, and our youngest is a 1-year-old. So it's just organized chaos at home. It's a lot of fun. 3 of them attend WCA. And yeah, I know there's a good representation here from WCA. So in terms of my education, I'm one of those annoying perpetual lifelong students. So I'm a Michigan grad 3 times over.
Yes, go Michigan!
Go Blue.
Guys, all that means is he's giving them a lot of money.
I have to cheer for them because they have so much money and one of my kidneys and all the things that took to fund that. So,
yes.
So I was a math and English major and then finance and then ultimately law. So by day, I'm actually a practicing attorney of about 13 years. But more importantly for tonight, after law school, I went to seminary and got to study Christian apologetics at Talbot School of Theology under some really great thinkers. And I also teach the conversational apologetics class here at GBC. We've been members here since March and been coming here about a year. but also relevant for tonight is that when I was, wherever the high schools are, when I was your age, by the time I finished high school, I was a very angry agnostic. I didn't think this faith was true.
Can you explain real quickly agnostic for a second?
An agnostic is agnosis, no knowledge. It's saying I don't know. So I wouldn't have gone as far as to say I'm an atheist. That's really asserting God does not exist. But I didn't really know and I didn't really care. I was angry about it, angry at God, angry at the church. Didn't think it was true, didn't want it to be true, and quite frankly thought Christians were all stupid and gullible and just kind of foolish and bumbling and backwards. Yeah. So didn't have a very high view of Christians. Wasn't afraid to share that with the Christians I went to school with. I grew up in Canton, so I went to Plymouth-Salem, and now it's to Salem.
Oh, just saying.
So yeah, that's my background, law, cool. Apologetics, and love to read, and I am a giant nerd, like you said.
Yes. So I've known Randy for how long? Like 8 years?
Yeah.
Something like that?
We used to be neighbors. Now we're across the road, but we're still pretty close.
Yeah. And one of the things that was so cool about Randy, and the reason why we're talking about this the way we are, is because Randy came into my office once and he talked to me about how your generation is the generation that's walking away from the faith at some of the largest and most alarming rates. And so he was saying that the darkness is coming for your hearts, it's coming for your eyes, it's coming for your ears, but most importantly, it's coming for your minds. And it wants to encapsulate you to make you think like what Randy was thinking, that this Christian thing, it's just fantasy, it's just this thing to make you feel good about yourself, and it's really, it's you need religion if you're weak. That's what this darkness can do. And so I want to ask you, the second question is, what made you think Christianity was wrong, and why did you think that Christians weren't smart, or as you put it, stupid or dumb for what they believed?
I wasn't the most polite person back then either, but it was really a handful of things. So one is this cultural influence, right? And I think this is still true today, if you look at TV, movies, whatever it might be, the Christians are always the comic foil. They're like Angela from The Office. For me, it was Ned Flanders in The Simpsons. They're sort of bumbling, they're backwards, they're not educated. I think secondly, it was just studying history. So learning about in high school the Reformation and how there's violence, the Inquisition, the Crusades, the witch trials, and on and on. It seemed like a worldview that had to be enforced for people to hold to it. So I didn't want to believe in enforced religion. That didn't appeal to me. Thirdly, I would say it was studying science. So now these are things you might see like on TikTok or on YouTube. For me, it was literally a physical magazine because I grew up in the 90s. I just turned 42 if you're trying to date how old I am. So there was this great magazine called Discover Magazine, and I would read that because I was into science. And it's like, oh, I can explain the universe without God. Oh, taking 10th grade biology, I can explain where life came from. There's the Urey-Miller term, that you take chemicals, you zap them for a week with electricity, that's where life came from. And Darwin can explain why we see biodiversity. So I thought, why believe in a God I don't need? To explain this origin question, I can look outside God, I can go to science, and as science advanced, God retreated in my life. And I think lastly was looking at other religions. I was really into Eastern spirituality, to Taoism. And I grew up in a nominal Roman Catholic home, and in hindsight, I'm glad I did. My parents gave me a good faith background, but I wanted to go hang out in the woods on Sunday. I'm like, I'm done with church. I got confirmed at 13. I'm going to go hang out with the trees. I felt closer to nature, and they said, well, if you go do that, we won't do your laundry. And church became like this economic bartering chip, and I would go to youth group and get my questions blown off or not answered, and that's kind of the angry part. So in the midst of all of that, culture, history, religion, science, no one ever said, hey, Randy, it's true. It was this, you should believe because your parents believe and your grandparents believe. It's just part of the family. It's what you do. It's the heritage we've given you as opposed to something to believe because it's actually true. I didn't know of a single credentialed scholar, anybody with a PhD, a law degree, whatever it might be, who was a Christian. It was always just what culture showed me, what experience taught me. And so I just became very angry and disillusioned and walked away from it all. So that's kind of the really short version.
Yeah, no, I think that is one of the things I love about this portion of the story is that this is not uncommon. A lot of us in this space, we have the privilege of going to Christian schools where you guys have the ability to sit with friends who are growing and learning in your faith. But just a show of hands, how many people go to a public school in this room? Fantastic. So when you guys look around, a lot of your friends are probably coming out of the same exact situation that Randy is describing. And the reason why I wanted to bring Randy up here is because that exact element, no one sat you down and said, it's true. that exact idea is what we're trying to get at with this value of evidence. And so what I would love to ask you, Randy, is this next question is so you've got this history. You're basically, I just grew up in this. Mm-hmm. I'm no different than if I was born in Iran and grew up in a Muslim home, or if I was born in even a Baptist home and you grew up Baptist. This is just how I was, because this is just what I did, and no one really sat you down and was like, no, you should like question and look and see and figure out if this is true. So if no one did that for you through your middle school and high school years, what changed? What caused you to take seriously the claims of Christianity? And what was the ultimate reason you decided to follow Jesus?
So somebody handed me a book one day called Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. And I was shocked because that book, it's a journalist who was a skeptic who became a Christian, and they've made a movie about it. But he interviewed a bunch of people who are Christians with PhDs, some of them with multiple doctorate degrees. And that really shocked me. That really surprised me. Like the fact that there's a Christian who hasn't had to check their brain at the door. That's like a unicorn. I didn't know that was a thing that actually existed. So that didn't change my worldview. But that got me realizing I don't have all the answers. There are educated people out there who are Christian. I'm someone who, what I believe in my heart has to make sense in my mind. So what I believe here has to make sense up here. So I thought, you know what? I'll dig in. I'm in high school and later on into college. I'll give this a read. I want to see what their arguments are. There's probably not much there. I'll be done in a month. And then a month became 2 months, became 6 months, became several years of lots of reading, lots of studying, lots of reflecting, talking to people. And then at the end of that, the philosophical evidence, the scientific evidence, the historical evidence left me in this position where I was just like, I think it's true. I think more likely than not, this is true. God exists and that Jesus Christ rose from the dead as a matter of actual history. And that is the linchpin of our faith. If Jesus did not rise from the dead, we should shut GBC down in every church, because that's right out of 1 Corinthians 15. If Christ has not been raised, our hope is in vain, our faith is futile. And so that got me to the point intellectually where I was attracted to Jesus. I thought it was true, but I'm like, I'll wait till I'm done with college. Right, go ahead.
How old were you at that time? You were just heading into college, or were you? Just
heading into my sophomore year, so I was almost 19. I'd finished my freshman year, so at U of M. So the short answer is I was lonely. I reached a point where I'll do something with it someday, when I get married, when I have kids, whatever it might be. But Jesus was just attractive. Just reading the Gospels for the first time, it's like, this is way different than I thought it would be. It doesn't seem like it was something written by men with an agenda, other than to tell faithfully the history that actually happened and what Jesus said and did. And so as I dove in, I found this God can meet the deepest longings of my heart. For belonging, for value, for meaning, for purpose. And so on June 1st, 2002, I was actually at Highland Park Baptist Church. I think at that time, Pastor Ty would have been a youth pastor there. It was a men's breakfast. That was the morning where I felt it was time to, Ernie Harwell and Frank Tanana, two Tigers people were speaking there.
That's crazy.
So, but it took several years, but the evidence wasn't hard to find. It was just hard to eventually accept, but loneliness is what won it out. So again, it was, for some people it's the heart to the mind. For me, it was the mind down to the heart, but the evidence wasn't hard to find, and it was pretty compelling. And then it was just getting to a point in my life where crying out, and I need him. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and that was me. So,
yeah. So there's an idea out there that because you were born into this worldview, how would you say, what happened to you for your worldview that you would say, well, it doesn't matter how you were born or what culture you were born into. What matters is what is true. So it's on the screen here, but what do you say about the idea that someone was just raised in their religion or their culture or their worldview, and that's just what they believe? How do we, if Christianity really does have, as you said before, an embarrassing amount of evidence for Jesus' resurrection, if it really does, how do we in this room take that towards our friends and families who are or our friends who are well, that's what you believe, but I grew up in an atheist home, or I grew up in a insert worldview orientation.
Yep. And that's actually a very sort of obvious observation. It's most people that grow up in Muslim countries are going to be Muslim. They were raised in a Muslim country by a Muslim family, and same with a Buddhist family, Hindu family, whatever your home environment might be. That explains why you might have your initial beliefs or the framework you're raised in. But my question is, well, what follows, nothing really follows from that. Is it true? In other words, does it actually correspond to reality? That's what truth means. It's the way things really are. So we Christians believe it's called the correspondence theory of truth. Truth is that which is the way things just really are in reality. And so that's my question. So if you look at Luke chapter 3, for example, John the Baptist is talking to the Pharisees, and he says, don't say to yourselves that, we have Abraham as our father. I tell you, God can raise up descendants from Abraham from these stones. And his point was, your ethnicity doesn't save you. What your parents believe doesn't save you. I tell my kids this. God doesn't have grandkids. God does not have grandkids. He has children. He doesn't have grandchildren. It doesn't work this way, but you can imagine you approach the pearly gates and God says, why should I let you in? It's, well, you shouldn't. I'm a sinner. I don't deserve it, but there's this, your son Jesus died on the cross. He paid the penalty for my sin. I've trusted in him. His righteousness has been imputed to me. And on the basis of his atoning work, God, in your mercy and forgiveness, let me in. Versus, oh, you should let me in because my dad got in. That's not how it works. You have to own your faith. So if someone grew up Muslim, Hindu, atheist, whatever it might be, I'd want to know, why do you believe it? And do you think it's true? If I believe it because my parents did, personally, I don't think that's good enough, because we want to believe true things, we want to disbelieve false things. So I would want to know, why do you believe what you believe? And have you ever examined it? Have you ever held it up to scrutiny and tested it and thought, is this true or not?
Yeah, so what I love is you talked about how Jesus met you in your loneliness. You came to him, and he fulfilled something that was longing in your heart, but it was through the argumentation and the evidence that ultimately settled that Jesus is the one who loves and is pursuing my soul. Yeah. And so my what's beautiful about that is C.S. Lewis has this funny quote. The guy who wrote Narnia, right? You guys tracking with me? Yeah, okay, cool. Wrote a whole bunch of other ones. You guys should read his sci-fi trilogy as well. Didn't know he had a sci-fi trilogy, did you? You didn't, did you? It's crazy. I heard about it. He said, I love it. He has this really great quote that he didn't want Christianity to be true, but that he came to the conclusion kicking and screaming, something to that effect.
That night he said he was the most reluctant convert in all of England.
Yeah.
The night he prayed.
And so there's this issue that I think we see, is that we love, and I heard Ty talk about this in one of the sermons, Pastor Ty. He said, there's the compassionate God, and we love the compassionate God. The compassionate God is awesome. He's the one who loves you, who cares about you. Man, he's the one who's just out there just so you can enjoy your life. Yes. And then there's the God that also brings justice. We don't like that God. And what's sad is that that's the same God that wants the best for you. And so what I've heard is, just like C.S. Lewis, just like several other people, is that there is a problem of the will, and that they don't want it to be true, and there's the problem of the mind. And what we hear in you is that this idea of the mind, it wasn't a problem of the will. You didn't necessarily not want it to be true. It was that you hadn't seriously considered all of the evidence in your mind. Mm-hmm. And so can you help us understand this problem of the will versus the problem of the mind?
Yeah, could you, should we look at the Nagel?
Oh yeah, I have that right here. Yeah.
So this is a really famous atheist philosopher at NYU named Thomas Nagel. This is what he writes. And he's very candid. He says, I want atheism to be true, and I'm made uneasy by the fact that some of the most intelligent and well-informed people I know are religious believers. It isn't just that I don't believe in God and naturally hope that I'm right in my belief. It's that I hope there is no God. I don't want there to be a God. I don't want the universe to be like that. That's a problem of the will. God is a very real possibility. He's saying that. He says, I know some very intelligent people. He's a brilliant philosopher. He knows other brilliant philosophers who are Christians. In fact, there are a lot of Christian philosophers out there. They're doing just fine in philosophy departments. But his is a problem of the will. God is a very live option he's taking off the table, simply as a matter of the will. It's disbelief due to preference. His preference can't reshape reality. It's not true. Like reality is the way things really are. So he's got a problem of the will. There's a live option of a belief in God on the table, and he's excluding that. Versus the problem of the mind is just maybe not having evidence, maybe having doubts, maybe having questions. So there was an element of my disbelief of not wanting it to be true, because I'm like, man, this is true. This means I can't quite live how I want and do all the things that I want, maybe in all the ways that I want. But I got to a point where I said, that's not a good way to live. I want to believe what's true. I want to disbelieve what's false. I want to follow the evidence where it leads. Whatever that outcome, that's the point I got to. And then the problem of the will was solved for me. Then it became a problem of the mind. Is there evidence and what is it? Yeah. And after a couple of years of really diving into that, I landed on, okay, it's true. Now what do I do with it? But I got the problem. I had to set aside the problem of the will and just excluding God based on preference. Because again, preference can't change reality. If you get a cancer diagnosis, of course no one prefers that, but just denying it or not preferring it won't make it go away. And it's the same sort of thing with God. He exists whether you prefer it or not, whether you believe or not. And Nagel, unfortunately, has a problem of the will, not a problem of the mind. And until that problem of the will is solved, like the mind can't move forward. It's a hindrance to belief and discovering truth, I think.
Awesome. We have time for probably 2 questions, and I am going to work through these top 2 questions that we have voted here. What I will say, though, is I love how you're articulating this because, guys, I heard it said, there's this guy, his name's Sean McDowell. He had a dad, his name is Josh McDowell. They wrote a book together. And Sean came to his dad, I think as a teenager, correct me if I'm wrong. Yep. And Sean said to his dad, "Dad, I just don't know if I can truly believe this Jesus stuff." And his dad, a well-seasoned philosopher, an author, apologist, guy who wrote books through and through, says to his son, well, you just got to follow Jesus. In fact, he doesn't bring Jesus into the quote at all. What he ends up saying is he says, "Son, I don't want you to necessarily follow Jesus. I want you to find the truth. Because the truth, I believe, will lead you to Jesus." And this is what's really important for us, is that some of your friends, this is why we do not have the burden of proof. We have the corner on science. We have the corner on philosophy. We have the corner on reason. Because the evidence, the logic, all of it points to there being a supreme cause. And that's what Randy and I are all about, is what we want you guys to be able to walk away with, is that you belong to a God who loves you, a God who designed you in his image out of that love, who then displayed that love in being the king who serves, calling you to serve one another, in order that we could be the evidence to the world that pierces the darkness. Because your friends are hopeless. They are broken. And we have the cure. We know a guy, as they say. And so I don't want you guys to miss that, how important this is, that you get to hear this testimony of a man who pursued the truth and then found companionship in Jesus. Arguments led him to a relationship. And that relationship is what has sustained you, your life, your marriage, your family, your parenting. Yeah.
All of it, yeah.
Yeah. So 2 questions, really quick, is what are your favorite arguments for the historical resurrection of Jesus Christ? And can you do it in 60 seconds?
I can. Memorize one acronym, CASE, C-A-S-E. There are 5 facts that are completely undisputed by every New Testament scholar out there, whether they're Christian, Jewish, yes, there are Jewish New Testament scholars, and atheists. The first fact is that Jesus Christ was crucified and died under the reign of Tiberius Caesar by a Roman prefect named Pontius Pilate. In other words, crucifixion, that's your C. Your A is that the disciples really believed and they really claimed that the risen Jesus appeared to them. So crucifixion, appearances. The 12 really claimed it. They really believed it. Thirdly is S, skeptics. So Jesus' half-brother James and Saul of Tarsus, or the Apostle Paul, an enemy, not just like a skeptic, but like a violent skeptic. They were converted by what they believed was a risen appearance of Jesus to them. And then lastly, the empty tomb, E. So crucifixion, appearances, skeptics, empty tomb. You have to explain all 5 of those, what are called minimal facts that everyone grants, and the resurrection does that far, far better than any plausible alternative theory. For example, if an atheist says that they all had hallucinations, well, that might explain why the 12 believed. It doesn't give you an empty tomb. It doesn't explain why James believed. It doesn't explain why Paul believed. You have to cobble together multiple theories that don't fit naturally. That's called being ad hoc or contrived. And that has way less explanatory power than just Jesus actually rose from the dead. That is the resurrection hypothesis. It is a natural fit for all 5 minimal facts. No other naturalistic theory accounts for all 5, or really even accounts for more than 2 on its own. Is that 1 minute?
Woo, that's a little longer, but that's okay. I'll give it to you. All right, last question. Now, and also just so you guys know, Randy and I are going to be taking these questions and the questions that you've already submitted in other discussions, and we're going to be trying to sit down and in 8 minutes or less answer every one of those questions in short little videos to be able to put on our YouTube channel or on our Instagram page, so you guys can check those out and you guys will be able to answer those or see those answers. This is a really simple one. How much do you bench?
My max is 300.
Woo! Okay. Yeah, don't ask him how much he squats. All right.
Yeah. He squats more, I bench more. I skip leg day, he skips more.
I can squat what he can bench. So, all right. So, what is the hardest thing for you to defend with apologetics?
I think it's not so much to defend, but it's the problem of evil and suffering. I mean, that's something Christians wrestle with. It's something skeptics wrestle with. There's a lot of emotional atheism, and that one's hard because it's always asked by a person and or about a person. It's a very personal question, and so it's not just about evidence. It's about the heart. That's an objection. That has an argumentative component, a mental component, but also a heart component, and so. To answer that graciously and well, I think it's also the best way to share the gospel, frankly, because our answer is not an answer, it's a person. The answer to suffering and evil is not an answer, it's a person, Jesus Christ. Here's the one sentence answer I give to that. If you have to boil it down, God loved us so much that he chose to suffer with us rather than not suffer without us. God chose to suffer with us rather than not suffer without us. That's how much he loved us. That is ultimately the answer to the problem of evil and suffering. God is there with us in it.
Can we throw up the last slide of the presentation? This is, again, the thing we want you to walk away with, is that there is no doubt in which Christ's light does not shine. You might not know it. You might not be able to talk about it yet. And you can always say, I don't know, that's a great question. Can we look at that together? Because there is no doubt in which Christ's light does not shine. Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to hear Randy's story. We thank you for each of these students. We thank you for their questions. Lord, we pray as they head off to small groups, Lord, that this would be a moment for them to be able to really hear and seek to understand why they struggle to talk about their faith, what things they can do right now, tomorrow, to better understand their faith so that, Lord, they can be the light of your Son wherever they find themselves, in any and every situation, that they would bring hope to the hopeless, healing to the broken, and peace to the chaos. We love you, Lord, and we pray all this in your Son's name. Amen. You guys can head to small groups. We'll see you guys at 7 o'clock.